gon' bring the game back? Who gon' spit that rainbow on the train tracks? That gold rope, that five-finger ring rap. Running with my same pack. You can find the Christ where the lepers and the lames at. Life is like a dice game. One roll can land you in jail or cutting cake, blowing kisses in the rice rain. Beast. Yeah.
Alright, what up, y'all? It's so weird here. I'm just on work break right now. I just decided to make a short video response to basically by a guy by the name of Mikha'el. I guess he's some self-professed teacher. And basically last night I listened into the show and I called in, and mainly because of two things. One, because of the title of the show. You know, you can go on Debate Talk for You and look at this for yourself. The title of the show was something like along the lines of New Age Apologists or something like that. They basically mixed in the New Age and apologetics, and they put them together, and they tried to say that's what you know, that was their way of saying that we are some type of false pseudo group. And that was the first thing that caught my attention. The second thing that caught my attention was throughout his quote-unquote teaching, he kept on calling us out. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. So, you know, I decided to call in, you know, because let's just all use common sense. If you're going to go ahead and, you know, call somebody out, then, you know, don't expect that person to not show up. Right? Yeah. So I decided to call in. Now you can listen to this for yourself. Basically, I had asked him to show me some things in scripture where, you know, the disciples are teaching that you have to keep the laws of Moses. Show me somewhere where they're teaching that to the church. Show me. And basically they didn't do it. All they did was go to Jeremiah 31. But that wasn't my issue. My issue was this. You know, I'm gonna just keep it blunt. If you put your name or our names in your mouth and I show up on your show, you don't say, quote, you can ask my assistant here, he's more qualified than me. Why would you say that? I'm asking you. You're the one that's basically leading whatever you're teaching, so why would you have me talk to him? I find that kind of cowardish. Yeah. Another thing is that by the time I was done and by the time, you know, his assistant was done, he then, after I ended up getting muted by Sal, and you know how you have to say goodbye to the show or whatever, you know, you can't talk anymore, then all of a sudden he comes back on and he begins to actually attempt to give me the answer that I've been asking him the entire time. But yet you're giving it like when I'm not able to respond anymore, like when I'm off the show. Once again, strike two. That's cowardice. That's cowardice. So then, after that, I basically asked him, I said, listen, if you're gonna go ahead and, you know, make a big lesson and basically attack Christian apologists, and then also mainly attack our group by putting our name in your mouth, then how about I put your claims to the test? Let's have a dialogue. Notice I didn't say debate. If anybody goes on Debate Talk for You, you can look and see that, you know, I do lots of dialogues. But yet, every time I tried to ask him to actually have a dialogue, he said, no, I don't want to debate you. And if you say that you're going to dialogue, I know that it'll turn into a debate. He also basically tried to broad brush me like this in about two other instances. Basically, to break it down in layman's terms, I'm going to paint you as someone that you're not in order to justify myself in denying talking to you. So that's strike three. So once again, I find that cowardice. Bottom line is this. If you're going to teach, why would you not want to have it, at least have a dialogue, or, you know, or at least a debate? Now me, I don't necessarily do debates. if I get asked to do debates or if it turns into that, that's fine. Me, I'm a dialoguer. But why would you end up being a teacher, but yet you're not gonna go ahead and address the people that you claim are wrong? To me, that's cowardice. So my thing to you is, if you're not going to actually like address us in a dialogue, you know, like you're just gonna go ahead and stay far away and pretty much teach to death and basically run your mouth, keep our name out of your mouth, because you wouldn't like it if I did that to you. Imagine if I did, you know, a few videos and I decided to, you know, talk against you. I went on Debate Talk for you, and you called in and I said, oh, talk to my assistant. Oh, no, I don't want to debate you. Oh, but you know, I believe that you're wrong and I can prove everything wrong, but I don't want to debate you. You would call me out just like that. And everybody in the audience, in the crowd that's listening over the phone, watching online, they do the same thing. This is no different than Goliath coming up and, you know, basically taunting Israel and with his gods, and then after that he doesn't want to fight anybody. That's weird. So even though Goliath ended up taunting a lot of people, at least he backed it up and was still fighting folks and taking people out. Well, that's what I'm saying, that you are kind of like Goliath, where like you're talking a lot of game, but then when David comes on the scene, you're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And the bottom line is, a lot of you Hebrew Israelites are running. I said it once, I'll say it again. You guys are running. Years ago, you guys would end up saying, well, you know, the Christian church is this, the Christian church is that, and can't nobody, you know, bring it to us in any debate. Now, all of a sudden, here we come out the woodwork, here we come, and you have to paint some type of false narrative about us, right? In order to justify yourselves of not even dealing with us. That's what you're doing. Oh, there are those Christian apologists. Stay away from them, because their agenda is, oh, you know, they're trying to please the white man. The real agenda is something else. Nah, our real agenda has been, you know, the one since the beginning. Y'all end up going on the streets and, you know, y'all even raid certain churches. Yes, I've seen people do this. One guy that I debated actually has videos of him doing this. I'm not just making this up at all. So if you continue to do that, don't be surprised if the Christian community comes and pushes back. If you're going to make doctrines that, you know, white people are going to be slaves forever in the afterlife, and Jesus only died for the Israelites, and the whole Bible is about Israelites, if you're going to say all this stuff, don't be surprised if people come at you and be like, hey, I think you're wrong. You need to be checked on that. Let's have a dialogue or a debate about it. Don't be surprised. Come on, y'all. I mean, y'all should even know that about the hood. Like, this is common sense. So I'm asking you, Mikha'el, Yeshurun, Israel, whatever your name is, if you're going to continue to talk about us, then you owe me a dialogue. Now, if you go ahead and, you know, keep our names out of your mouth, then cool. All right, that's fine. You know, but if you continue to do this, I'll just go ahead and go on Sal's show, and I'll just go ahead and completely rebut your entire show, the show that you were wrong, because I was listening to that crap, and I think it's funny. You say that, you know, the apologists are New Age, right? But yet you don't even realize that the start of your cult actually was in New Age. When you look at Ariah, right, the dude who founded the 12 tribes charts, he also believed that he was Elijah reincarnated. One of them actually believed that he was King David reincarnated. Where did they get this? Well, if you actually do some basic research, the New Age movement, the actual term New Age, was coined in 1973. That's right around the time that Black Hebrew Israelites started to kind of, you know, do their thing. Ain't that interesting? You think he just came out of the thin air with that 12 tribes chart? No. That 12 tribes chart was probably inspired by the same 12 tribes chart that you can find with the British Israelism movement. If you don't believe me, look up a guy named Yair Davidiy. Yair Davidiy. Look it up.
Yeah.
So they had a whole treasure trove of theology to basically take it from the north and put it in the south. That's all they did. They didn't study. They parasited stuff. And that's what a lot of black Hebrew Israelites such as yourself do. Y'all take already existing theologies and you parasite it. That's all you do. You reverse engineer it. You make it black. So, like I said, that's all I really wanted to say. For right now, I'll just go ahead and show you the 15-minute clip that I was debating or dialoguing with them on. And after that, you can look at it for yourself. But yeah, I asked you, will you actually dialogue with me? And this dude said, no. And my response to you is, coward. Coward. So, like I said, man, Shield Squad, just keep that name out of your mouth. If you're not going to go ahead and actually have a real dialogue with us, then don't talk about us and say that we're wrong. Because like I said, I could just go on Debate Talk for You and just do a response show to your whole slew of messed up passages. And another thing too, I found it interesting that you kept on saying that, the callers, I know that some are hanging up and, I know they probably are scared. Like, who does that? Who does that? Like, I don't get that. Then I said I listened to a good portion of your show. I didn't say I listened to your whole show. Then also I said, I figured there was something that I said. Oh yeah, I basically was waiting on call like almost the whole time. From the moment that I basically listened to the show, I hit number 1. So I did not call in at the very last millisecond to hide behind some excuse of, I only got 8 minutes left. Like, I didn't do that. To tell you the truth, I honestly think that you took up all the talk time so that way the call time of interaction can be like this big for you. Because like I said before, like, I've checked your profile. You've been on Sal Showtime's show 3 times. You taught in 2015, 2016, and this year in 2017. That's the only times you've been on the show. And all 3 times, you've taught. You never dialogued, you never debated with anybody, you just taught. So at the same time, I guess I kind of can't get angry or frustrated at the fact that you don't really want to interact with anybody. So I actually can't get mad at that. All I'm saying is, if you want to be a teacher and all, then please, by all means, go ahead and teach. Do what you do. But if you're gonna go ahead and actually like talk about boys, like you won't actually talk about people, then expect somebody to come up and be like, hey, you need to put your money where your mouth is. You actually need to prove that. Like, expect somebody to rise up against you. Like, come on, fam. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all listen to this 15-minute clip. I'll put a whole bunch of links in the section. I'll put the link of the whole entire lesson so y'all can listen for yourselves. In my personal opinion, it's nonsense. It literally is nonsense. I'm not kidding you. Everything that he said, like, it's rebuttal. And I'm not talking about just, for rebuttal's sake. No, I'm talking like your stuff is trash. And I'm the nice guy, but I admit, man, like, when I heard that, I just got called like it is. Like, it was trash, man. Like, but like I said, what made it worse is, like, you're coming at us. So, like I said, you won't hear another peep out of me as long as I never hear our name in your mouth. So that fair is fair. Like I said, it was the same thing with what is his name? Priest Daniela. Before they actually debated Vocab and LaRon, one of them was actually doubting of doing it. They didn't want to do it. It was like, man, I don't know if we should do this. And then after that, Priest Daniela, he didn't even actually address Vocab or anyone. He just went on a personal tirade. You don't do that in a debate. You actually prove yourself. Like that's you wouldn't accept that for a second from us. So, like I said, these boys are running. You know, no one really wants to deal with us. So, that's all I pretty much had to say. No, there is no secret agenda, and vocab is with James White, and this is all James White's doing. No, James White is doing other stuff, and I don't even associate myself with him. Like nobody does. One more thing too. To say that all of us are former Hebrews, you're wrong. Some of us are, some of us are not. Me, I'm not. I'm just a Christian. To say that we all have a vendetta against you, no, we don't. We each have our own specific reasons as to why we started actually, attacking this doctrine. And eventually, sometime in, I think, 2015, we all kind of found each other. We started looking at each other's work years ago. And finally, when Google Hangouts became very popular, well, it wasn't very long before we found each other in a room. And to be 100% honest, we all got to thank Mama Cherry for that.
Go to the phone lines. Let's go to 770-680. You're live in there.
Yes, hello. Can I be heard?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, hey, I know that I don't have much time. I wish I did have more. But before I even ask you any questions, I just did want to tell you that I did listen to a good portion of everything that you said. And I'd like to have a dialogue with you. And if you're willing to do that, I think, that would be very fruitful. I would love to have a dialogue with you on all the things that you just said. So with that being said, I'm just going to ask a question. I'm a Christian. I believe in the new covenant, and I do not believe that we have to keep the law under the new covenant. Can you show me somewhere in Scripture where it shows that, the Christian church is keeping the law, or can you show me somewhere in Scripture where the disciples are teaching to keep the law?
Hold on, stand by, So Real, stand by. His call actually dropped. Man, and made an overtime. All right, so let's see if everything's working. 312. Are you back on?
Yeah. Yeah, I apologize, man. The call dropped. They do that after like 2 hours and 10 minutes. My talk stuck on the phone and kicked me off. I didn't think about that before I did the show.
All right, that's cool. So let's go back to the call. Go ahead. You back on?
Hey, to the caller. To the caller. I heard what you said. Everything you said, you would be willing to sit down and talk with me. But I have to ask you a question because you heard this whole segment. I have to ask you two honest questions, and I believe you will answer them honest. One, what is your name? And two, are you in any part or any kind of way associated or affiliated with that whole apologetic thing?
Yes. My name is Matthew Sully, a.k.a. So Real, and I'm part of the Shield. But I don't consider myself a quote-unquote apologist. It just kind of comes with the territory. Really, I just really consider myself just a Christian and evangelist. But, yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, and see, you could have just really said that through the door. And I know I made it clear, and I know who you are. I've seen your name on there, and you right along with them. So, you tried to do it real nice, and that's cool or whatever. But I said what I said. I'm not debating you. I don't even really have no biblical conversation with you. Now, what you can do, if my reader, because it's one thing when you say stuff like that publicly, you have to stand by it. I'm not about to get into no debate with you, because that's all it's going to turn into. Now, if my reader want to address your question, he can. He's very much qualified.
Yes. I would like to address the question. First and foremost,
wait. Can I still be heard?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, but before you say anything, I just like to just observe something, and after that, I'll just go and let you go. Things with me don't turn into some type of debate I'm a dialoguer. You could even ask Sal himself. I'm a bit of a peacemaker. I'm not anyone that's very violent. Another thing I'd like to say is that it is, I have to admit, it is very frustrating for me to kind of watch people such as yourself and other people who, you know, often will say a lot about other people such as, you know, other folks. And yet here's someone right here saying, hey, let's have a dialogue about this. And now all of a sudden, you know, you try to find reasons to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to go ahead and have a dialogue with you. I find that very interesting, you know, because I thought that since you're going to go ahead and say all these things, I wouldn't mind having a dialogue with you one day. But, yeah, I just had a question, and I'd like it to be answered before you guys ask me questions, since I'm the caller. And my question was this. I'm a Christian. I believe in the new covenant. And, you know, I want you guys to pretty much show me somewhere in Scripture where it shows, you know, Jesus or the apostles teaching that you still have to keep the old covenant law, or show me somewhere where the Christians are still under the old covenant or something like that.
Okay. I do want to point out some things. You said you are under the new covenant, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get an understanding on your part on what is your understanding of the new covenant. What does that actually entail? What does that mean?
Well, once again, this keeps on happening, and this happened a lot throughout 2016. It's 2017, and I'm not going to allow it to happen anymore. I usually ask very simple questions, and yet you guys continue to ask me questions. This time I ask you a question, and I just want you to show me somewhere in Scripture where it shows that the disciples are teaching to keep the laws of Moses. Can you show me somewhere in Scripture where that is being done?
Well, the reason why I asked you, and I know what you just said, the reason why I asked you about your understanding on being under the new covenant, because one of the things that is part of the new covenant is the law. And there is really no way of getting out of it. If we go to Hebrews, the 7th chapter, I believe, or 7 or 8. I'm about to go to it. So this is still what we are talking about. Even the new covenant is still with Israel.
I'll read for you, brother. Tell me where to read it.
This is Hebrews 8, starting at verse 8.
Hebrews.
I thought you said Hebrews 7. Oh, okay, Hebrews 8.
And by the way, gentlemen, just to let you know, we only have a few minutes left, maybe 10, 15 minutes on air. So just letting you know. Got
okay. Okay, so you say Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8? 13?
8 through, you can do 8 through 11.
8 through 11, verse 8 through 11. Oh, so this Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8? Okay. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest.
And this is after Christ died.
Okay, so can I respond to that? Okay, so can I respond to that?
let me point out one thing, and then I'm going to let you
Sure,
respond.
go ahead.
Now,
okay.
Verse 11 says, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor. What are we teaching people? Like, what are we teaching people? If we're only talking about following Jesus Christ, and this says the laws will be in our heart and in our mind, what are we teaching people that they're not going to, that everybody's going to know from the least into the greatest? So that's my answer.
Thank you so much. So let me go ahead and respond to that. So I see that this is a scripture that you guys use to basically say, hey, this is the reason why we still have to keep the dietary law, the Sabbath, all these things, because you see this where it says, I will put my laws into their mind. There's some problems. For one, it says this covenant is not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I led them out in the hand of in Egypt. So that means that this new covenant is not going to be according to the old covenant. It's not going to be based on the old covenant. This is the reason why it fulfills it, because it's not limited to it. This goes right in context as the reason why God said, I will put my laws into their mind. Not the law of Moses. It's the same thing, I think, in Isaiah chapter 48 or 49, where it says that, he shall teach him his laws. That's very new covenant kind of language. And so that's the reason why he said this is not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. If you talk about his laws, you can go in the 2 Corinthians chapter 3 if you try to limit this new covenant only to Israel, because you have Paul actually writing to the Corinthian church, and he says, look, you are all ministers of the new covenant. So this covenant was not only with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And I could go into other scriptures to prove that, but I'm just trying to stay on point here. So if you're going to say that this is the reason why that you have to keep the dietary laws and things, then once again, this kind of flops because of the distinct language of how God is actually talking. I thought you guys would actually show me, at least some other passage where there's maybe an example where you can find somewhere where the church is keeping the laws, where Christians are practicing law keeping, not just showing me a covenant and things like that. And also, when you read verse 11, you said, what are we teaching? What are we teaching? Because it says, and he shall not teach his neighbor, every man know the Lord. Meanwhile, Jesus says, make disciples, baptizing them in the Trinity, teaching them everything that I've commanded you. So obviously, there's some kind of teaching that still needs to be taught, and those are the teachings of Jesus. This right here is a specific teaching. It's saying, and they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord. Why? Because, if these people are in the new covenant, you're not going to have to teach someone to know the Lord. No, you're going to have to teach them other things, like Jesus said, teaching them all that I've commanded you, right? And lo, I will be with you to the end of the age. So I think you have to look at these things in the full context of Scripture. I think there's just other things that you're not kind of looking at there. So I just want to know, once again, can you show me somewhere in the new covenant where the apostles are practicing the laws of Moses and they're imposing them on the church, saying, hey, you need to keep the law of Moses? Can you show me that?
Okay, hold that thought. We only have like 10 minutes in the air. Yeah, we do have a caller behind you, my brother. You have a caller behind you, man. So you want to say some last words real quick? How about my last word is this?
This is all I have to say, and after that, that's it. Listen, the bottom line is, I'm a man. You're a man. Let's have a dialogue about this. I put my offer on the table. Don't try to paint me off as some person that has an agenda. No, you have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, and there's a crowd that's listening to us as men. Can we have a dialogue someday? Yes or no?
No. Next caller.
Yeah.
again.